Yo, what to do? Back at it. You already know, bro.
Connected to iPhone.
TR-3B Black Triangle. Code name, Astra. TR-3B Black Triangle. In recent years, countless people have reported seeing flying objects of strange shapes, including triangular and spectacular trajectories. Without ever challenging the existence of UFOs of alien origin, we must make it clear that some of such aircraft are in fact owned and used in the greatest secrecy by the US government. Only with the tremendous courage of some people who worked in different military bases, the truth about these aircrafts was able to come to light, which is likely to hurry their future use in civil society for the benefit of all mankind. This is not just about the use of the aircraft itself, but primarily about the technology behind its propulsion system. A technology that is also called black technology, and which, as Stephen Greer mentions in his Hidden Truth, prohibited information is about 10,000 years more advanced than space-based space technology currently used globally. In this regard, it is very interesting, the account of an American specialist who worked on a secret military base near Groom Lake City, about an unimaginable aviation technology for the general public, which the Americans already have. Since this report, originally published online at darkgovernment.com, is no longer accessible at that address, we offer it. A friend told me at some point he would never forget the image of the TR-3B aircraft in the Papoose space, which looks exactly like an alien ship. Black as triangular pitch, TR-3B was rarely mentioned, and only whispering in Groom Lake, where he worked. At one point, the aircraft flew over the Groom Lake track in complete silence, and as if by surprise, it suddenly stopped above the S4. Floated silently in the same position for about 10 minutes, after which he left softly on the asphalt of the track. Sometimes a bright blue-silver crown surrounds the massive circumference of the TR-3B. The operational model is approximately 183 meters in diameter. The TR-3B aircraft also has the Astra code name. The first operational reconnaissance flight took place in the early 1990s. The triangular nuclear platform of the aircraft was built in the highest secret of the Aurora program, funded with money from the black budget. At least $3 billion invested in this project. Aurora is now the most secretive U.S. aerospace program, and TR-3B is the most exotic vehicle that was created under the Aurora program, funded and coordinated by the NSA, National Security Agency, the NRO, National Recognition, and the CIA, Central Intelligence Agency. The functionality of TR-3B is not a fiction. It was built with technology already available in the mid-1980s. So, not every UFO spotted is necessary of alien origin. The material covered by the TR-3B aircraft is a radar-reactive polymer, which can change its reflectivity, radar absorption, and color. This polymer, when used in conjunction with some internal TR-3B electronic systems, can give the vehicle such a look that it looks like a small ship or a flying cylinder on the radar screen. A circular ring, filled with acceleration plasma, called the magnetic field disruptor, surrounds the crew's rotating compartment, and outperforms any currently known technology. The Sandia and Livermore laboratories have developed this secret technology, and the American government will do everything to protect it. The plasma generated by bringing mercury to 250,000 atmospheres and at a temperature of minus 123 degrees Celsius, if accelerated to 50,000 revolutions per minute, becomes a superconducting plasma, the ultimate result of this process being the cancellation of gravity levitation. More specifically, by generating this rotating magnetic field, the effect of gravitational attraction on the ship is neutralized to 89%. In other words, the weight of the circular accelerator, as well as all the weight of the accelerator, crew cap, avionics, navigation and operation devices and appliances, fuels, crew environment systems, and a nuclear reactor, etc. are reduced by 89%. This makes the vehicle extremely easy, and has the ability to far exceed the performance and maneuverability of any aircraft built so far. Except, of course, UFOs. The TR-3B aircraft evolve at high altitudes in an undetectable way, using stealth technology, thus providing an undetermined flight time recognition platform. Once it reaches at a high speed at that altitude, it needs only very little propulsion to maintain its altitude. In addition, I remember that at the Groom Lake Secret Base there were rumors about a new element that would act as a plasma catalyst. Having the weight reduced by 89%, the vehicle can travel at a speed of 9 Mach. 9 times the sound speed, approximately 10,000 kilometers per hour, both vertically and horizontally. Sources say that performance is limited only by the biological limitations of pilots, which are many, given that the gravitational force is reduced by 89%. The propulsion of the TR-3B is provided by 3 multimodal propellers mounted in each corner at the bottom of the triangular platform. TR-3B moves at a speed of up to 9 Mach. Mach is a unit of measurement used in aerodynamics to express the speed of a body moving in a fluid. Projectile, airplane, rocket, etc. The Mach 1 speed is equal to the sound velocity in that fluid. Under standard conditions, Mach 1 is equal to 1,224 kilometers per hour, until it rises to 120,000 meters. Then God knows how fast it can move. The 3 multi-mode rocket engines that are mounted on each corner of the platform use hydrogen, or methane, and oxygen for propulsion. In a rocket system that uses hydrogen and liquid oxygen, 85% of the propulsion provides oxygen. The rocket's nuclear engine uses a liquid hydrogen and oxygen boost for additional power. The reactor heats liquid hydrogen and injects liquid oxygen through supersonic nozzles so that hydrogen combusts at the same time with liquid oxygen. The multimodal propulsion system can operate in the atmosphere with the propulsion offered by the nuclear reactor in the upper atmosphere with hydrogen propulsion, and in the combined orbit, circumferential orbit. What you need to keep in mind is that the 3 rocket engines actually propel only 11% of the mass of the top-secret TR-3B aircraft. Engines are built by Rockwell. Therefore, when triangular UFOs are recorded, it does not necessarily mean they are of extraterrestrial origin, and may also be ultra-sensitive flight apparatus, such as the TR-3B. The National Security Agency, NSA, the National Recognition Office, NRO, the CIA, and the United States Air Force, USAF, intentionally created a certain ambiguity about the names of these aircraft. They created the TR-3, which was modified in TR-3A, TR-3B, plus 2, 3, or 4 suffixes that actually mean completely different aircraft. Thus, the TR-3B model is just as different from TR-3A as banana grapes. Some of these are designed to have a human crew, others are designed to operate unmanned. Independent journalists who courageously reveal all this secret information hope that their emergence on more and more media channels will greatly help to wake up people in the face of these occult realities, and thus lead them to their use for the good of the whole mankind. On the other hand, disclosure in the press of this information will prevent and completely dismantle the various manipulations of an eventual alien invasion or other similar rumors that are being made to escape the black operations of the satanic elite of so-called enlightened.
And here is Ben. I never met Ben. Maybe possibly some of you did. I considered him to be a very nice gentleman. He was had a sense of humor. I feel that he was somewhat on our side because he dropped a number of hints that talked about classified aircraft. He never released any classified information, but he did drop a number of important hints that I want to go through here. Next, please. Significant statements made by Ben Rich regarding classified aircraft and propulsion systems. Now, we won't have time to go through each one of these, but certainly some of these are important. We did the F-104, the C-130, the U-2, the SR-71, F-117, and many other programs that I can't talk about. We are still working very hard. I just can't tell you what we are doing. Another one here, and these are absolutely 100% verified. These are actual statements by Ben. The Air Force has just given us a contract to take ET home. We already have the means to travel among the stars, but these technologies are locked up in deep black projects, and it would take an act of God to ever get them out to humanity. Coming directly from Ben Rich. Next, please. There is an error in the equations, and we have figured it out. And now we know how to travel to the stars, and it won't take a lifetime to do it. And then here it says, during a speech on March 1993, it's time to end all secrecy on this, as it no longer poses a national security threat, and make the technology available in the private sector. This is exactly what the Northrop engineers were proposing. Next, please. Now, we also have the report from Ben Rich talking about an interesting conversation that was done with Jim Goodall just prior to Ben's passing. He asked if Ben would be interested in doing a non-holds-barred interview. It never happened, but he did get a phone call into Ben at the hospital, and he told Jim Goodall, quote here, "Jim, we have things out in the desert that are 50 years beyond what you could possibly comprehend. If you've seen it on Star Wars or Star Trek, we've been there, done that, or decided it wasn't worth the effort." Ben Rich talking about things flying
Alex Jones
that are 50 years beyond what we could possibly even dream of. So, pretty amazing. Next, please. We have some things. We are not stagnating. What we are doing is updating ourselves without advertising. There are some things and new programs, and there are certain things, some of them 20 to 30 years old, that are still breakthroughs and appropriate to keep quiet about. Other people don't have them yet. So again, here we have Ben Rich talking about programs that are 30 years beyond what we currently know now. Next, please. Now here's the first known illustration of the F-117 stealth aircraft. Nobody knew what it looked like, from 1977 all the way up to 1988. There's a war going on for your mind. This program was in operation for over a decade. Nobody knew what the actual F-117 looked like. Next, please. It was declassified for the first time with the photograph on November the 10th, 1988. Originally, it was designed to look like this F-19 configuration. This is very similar to Tester's model. When it was finally declassified, it looked nothing like this whatsoever. Next, please. Now, the question is, if we have a gap between the F-18, which is the Hornet, and the F-20 Tiger Shark, which was a Northrop, there's a gap of the F-19. Was there an F-19, or was the F-19 the F-117? The confusion was very serious back in the late 1980s when this thing was declassified. It turns out that there actually was an F-19. Next slide, please. And here you can see the F-117 here, and then the faceted plate technology that they use. Now, when this aircraft rolled off the assembly line It was already obsolete, definitely, because this was the first generation of stealth. When you see the B-2, which was rolled out November 22nd, 1988, they completely done away with the faceted flat plate technology, now going on to the smooth contouring that you see in the B-2. Next slide. This is the historical lineage of the design that led to the F-117. The most perfect stealth configuration is a saucer design. Next to that, it's a diamond. So Lockheed, Ben Rich hired Denny Overholser to go ahead and design this. It was called the Hopeless Diamond. From there, they moved on to the intermediate configuration where they added wings and a small cockpit, and then that eventually led on to the Have Blue, which was the predecessor to the F-117. So that's the lineage of how that aircraft came about. Next, please. Now we're going to get into the F-19. This is a...
Man, y'all got motherfucking terrorist bombers going around blowing people up in Austin, blowing themselves up, injuring cops, killing black people. I don't think I want to move to Austin, bro. Y'all got some fucked up shit going on down there, boy. I'm telling you, man, that shit crazy. Did Alex Jones even talk about that? That a white terrorist was going around blowing up black people with makeshift bombs? Did he report on that in his home city of Austin?
Approximately a 1986 sighting by a Learjet pilot not too far from the remote test site in Nevada. Approximately 10,000 feet, he was flying and just popped out of a series of clouds. And to his lower left-hand position and just ahead of him, he noticed a very unusual aircraft. It was a flattened football diamond-shaped aircraft that had a ventral and dorsal tail fin arrangement. There was control surfaces along the leading and trailing edge of the aircraft. It had a trapezoidal exhaust port. There was an air intake on both sides of the pilot's compartment with a very interesting configuration right here. So it dawned on this Learjet pilot that he could have actually ran into this into the clouds, and so he called ATC, which was Nellis at the time, and said, Tower, why didn't you advise me of the traffic that's in my vicinity? And the voiceover came, said, what traffic? We're not painting anything. And this Learjet pilot said, well, the heck there isn't. I'm looking at this flattened football diamond black-shaped aircraft with a tail on top, a tail on the bottom, and a X-15 splitter canopy, and he was so close he could actually see the pilot's helmet. And he said, why didn't you guys tell me of this? And then another voice, a deeper voice, came on the radio and said, pilot of such and such Learjet, you are to land at Nellis Air Force Base, and when you land at Nellis Air Force Base, taxi to the end of the tarmac, and when you taxi to the end of the tarmac, do not depart your aircraft. We will meet you. So the pilot did as told, and for the next 18 hours, he was debriefed about an aircraft he never saw. But this was an actual pilot. Sighting. Next, please. Here you see Mark's original sketch of what this thing actually looked like. Next, please. Now, we don't know about armaments of this aircraft. We don't even know if it carried an armaments, but if it did, it might have had the rotary launch bay similar to the B-1. But we do know it utilized the retractable tail on the bottom here, kind of like the B-17 tail, but with an identical mirror image one on the lower section. So this was the F-19. Next, please. Now, here you see how we went from the A-12 to the what's termed the Aurora, which is not the actual name of the aircraft. M151 would be a better configuration, or actually the F1.
You know what silverback gorillas eat? You know what them big ass mammals, them big ass silverback gorillas eat? Vegetables.
100 Sentinel. You can see the 75-degree swept configuration. Next, please. Now, this is an actual U.S. Air Force Air Material Command Wright-Patterson Air Force Base insignia. And if you look here, almost as a tongue-in-cheek joke on the public, they're actually admitting that there's at least 3 classified aircraft out there. And in this insignia, you can see embedded in here there are Here you see on the external there's the B-2, and then over here we have the F-117, and then finally we have the Sentinel in this location, and also the 75-degree configuration. So in their own documents, they're almost telling us that these things are real. Next, please. Skunk Works. The evidence stacks up to a near certainty that a revolutionary step has been made in aircraft design. Absolutely, according to Ben Rich. Next, please. Skunk Works migrates north to the desert. Well, of course, the Skunk Works was based out of Burbank, not too far from here, but later on it was moved to Air Force Plant 42, Palmdale. April 9th, 1990, Skunk Works becomes its own separate company. So now you can see how it was moved to Palmdale, which is something that all of us can actually go see now with the large bay doors in this location here. Next, please. Here's a shot of Lockheed Skunk Works. Now, nothing is visible on the outside whatsoever. The best you could see are the large bypass bay doors. Most of the secret aircraft are built on the smaller buildings on the other side of the main hangar. Next. Here is the actual main doors right here, and over here you can see a pickup truck. Just to give you a size of scale, this is massive, just massive facility. Next, please.
Oh, yeah.
Now, I got this report from a General Electric engineer who had been retired for 30 years. He told me about one particular instance that he was personally involved in, where in 1989 he was at an underground facility at Air Force Plant 42 Palmdale, and during this particular day they were transporting via an underground tunnel a B-52 with a X-20 dinosaur-like parasitic aircraft on the top surface of the B-52. And they were towing it along this tunnel and going from Air Force Plant 42 directly to Edwards Air Force Base, approximately 30 miles as the crow flies, a direct shot. But what's even more interesting than this is he told me that during this tunnel trip that they were taking, there were 4 other separate shafts connecting the main shaft. 2 of the shafts ran south and 2 of the shafts ran north. One of the shafts that ran north was twice as big as this shaft, and he told me that you could take 2 P-52s and put them side to side, and you'd still have 6 feet on either side of the wingtip. So that's how big this other shaft was. Next, please. Now, these are what's known as the keepers of the secrets. If there's anybody who knows anything about what's actually going on now, or what was actually built years ago, it would be these gentlemen here. These are the CEOs of the Skunk Works. Of course, Kaylee Johnson, Ben Rich, Norm Nelson are no longer with us, but we do have Frank Capuccio, who's still with us, and we do have the comments made by Ben Rich and the retired Lockheed Skunk Works engineers who have been, they have been willing to talk about some projects. So these are the people that were the keepers of the secrets during their tenure in office. Next. Saturn LH2 powered U-2 replacement. This actually got scrapped, CL400. They were talking about something that could fly up Mach 2.5 at 100,000 feet. Actually got canceled, but was resurrected later on. Next, please. Talking about the D-21 drone, this is similar to what's going on with the M151. So here we can see that years ago, Lockheed already built a design with a parasitic aircraft being launched from the top surface of the aircraft. Absolutely. Next, please. Here you can see the HAV Blue configuration that eventually led to the F-117, and then this is the Hallandale radar cross-section range that you can fly on and over during the weekend days. Next, please. Ben Rich, who is the CEO for this particular program, Alan Brown was the chief engineer, and Dick Santrell was also involved in some of the other type programs. Next, please.
His name was Dixon what?
Just kind of a...
Dixon Trails.
In the all-new Equinox from your Metro Detroit Chevy dealers.
In the dawn age of Westeros, before the coming of man and the raising of castles and cities, there were only the children of the forest. Little is known of them now, but it is said they were small in stature, dark and beautiful, and no taller than children when grown to manhood. They lived in the depths of the forests and hidden villages, crannogs and caves. They hunted with weirwood bows, and armed themselves with blades of obsidian. Their wise men were called green seers and were possessed of powerful magic. They worshipped nameless, faceless gods of the forest, stream, and stone. According to legend, it was they who carved faces in the great white trunks of the majestic weirwoods. Their deep-cut eyes were red with sap and ever watchful. 12,000 years ago, the first men came from the eastern continent, crossing a land bridge called the Arm of Dawn. Riding their great horses and wielding weapons of bronze, they cut down the children's forests and weirwoods. A terrible war raged between the children and the first men that lasted for centuries. At long last, the two races sought an end to the years of horror and bloodshed. They met on a small isle in the centre of a great lake called the God's Eye. It was there they forged the pact. The first men would be granted dominion over the coastland, the mountains, the high plains and the bogs, but the deep forest would forever belong to the children, and no weirwood tree would ever again fall to man's axe. To seal the pact before the gods, the children carved a face in every weirwood tree on the island, which came to be known as the Isle of Faces. But the pact could not withstand the coming of the Andals, a race of tall, fair-haired warriors. They attacked with fire and weapons of steel, slaughtering the children of the forest wherever they could find them, burning out their weirwood groves, hacking away at the faces of the old gods, and spreading their own religion through the land. Centuries of war followed, and the Andals conquered every kingdom in Westeros save one, the North. The kings of winter were able to withstand the Andal invasion, and descendants of the first men dwell there to this day and continue to worship the old gods. As for the children of the forest, those who survived the slaughter were said to have fled far north and have not been seen again. Most assume they're long dead, and some don't believe they ever existed. They live on only through song and legend, and in the faces of the weirwood trees. When Aegon the Conqueror invaded Westeros, he had 7 kingdoms to contend with. The Kingdom of the North, the Kingdom of the Mountain and the Vale, the Iron Islands, the Kingdom of the Rock, the Kingdom of the Reach, the Stormlands, and Dorne. These regions had been established by the first men thousands of years before, in the Age of Heroes. One hero of this fabled age was Bran the Builder. Bran raised the wall and built the stronghold of Winterfell, establishing House Stark and reigning as the first king in the north. Other legends tell of the Grey King in the Iron Islands. Grey King took a mermaid to wife and defeated Naga, the first sea dragon. House Greyjoy of Pike, the current rulers of the region, claim to descend from him. House Casterly ruled the gold-rich Westerlands from their mighty seat of Casterly Rock, but their lands and power were swindled from them by the legendary trickster, Lann the Clever. The noble house of Lannister is said to have descended from him. The verdant and fertile lands of the Reach were first ruled by House Gardener, whose founder, known as Garth Greenhand, wore a crown of flowers and vines. He ruled from Highgarden as the first king of the Reach, and was said to have made the land bloom. Many noble houses trace their bloodlines back to him, including the current lords of Highgarden, House Tyrell. In the Stormlands, according to
I dreamt I was on an ocean. You and the others.
Exit made this.
Castle Edge is titanium strong.
Yonder.
See my creativity?
See my creativity.
Breathe me in, taste my words, let me blow your mind. I'll take you far, far away. I'll make you feel alright. You gotta crave it and taste it until you're close
Schwab is the better place for traders, with 500 commission-free trades for 2 years, $4.95 online trades, and a satisfaction guarantee no one else offers. Own your tomorrow.
Side road.
You said you dreamt that we'd grow old together. We had our time together. I have to let you go.
Taylor about the fucking flex.
New YouTube Red family plans. No ads for up to 6 family members.
that heat, boy.